Welcome back inside TD Garden, everybody. My name is Mike Petraglia, joined once again by Josue Pavon. This is the Garden Report, brought to you by Greats.com, your online store for great-looking shoes. Use my promo code TRAGS, that's T-R-A-G-S, for a 15% discount on all of their great-looking shoes online at Greats.com. Josue, this was not the home opener everybody expected on many different levels. Obviously, the team, the city of Boston, the whole region still really, I think, in a state of shock after the graphic left ankle injury to Gordon Hayward suffered in Cleveland just 24 hours earlier. But there was a game to be played, and helping them trying to move on was the man himself, Gordon Hayward, from a hospital bed at New England Baptist just moments before going under the knife for surgery here on Wednesday night in Boston. He had a message for the Celtics and their fan base. He said, thank you for all of the prayers and messages of support, the thousands and tens of thousands of messages that he has received in the last 24 hours. He said, I'm with you in spirit. I have all the confidence in the world. I will be back. I'll get back and help this team. But for now, I'm with you in spirit. What did you think of that message on the video board as Marcus Smart introduced Gordon Hayward?
A tremendous moment, Trags. I mean, this crowd erupted. I mean, this place went nuts just to show when they showed his face on the screen. And it was an amazing moment. I love the fact that Marcus Smart came out, introduced it, said, you know what, I was going to say something, but I know you want to hear from somebody else much more than you want to hear from me. And that was just an incredible moment. I really enjoyed all of it, Trags.
Yeah, and, you know, obviously this team is trying to find its way, and that's really, I think, going to be the common theme. You have to get to the point of the matter that the Celtics fell to 0-2 on the season, dropping their home opener here on Wednesday night to Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks by a score of 108-100. The Greek Freak had 37 points in just 26 minutes of play. He was dominant, but again, this is about the Celtics, and the Celtics are going to have to find their identity without Gordon Hayward in the lineup.
It's going to be very difficult, Trags. I mean, on both ends of the floor, I feel like Giannis just picked his spots, knew exactly what he wanted to do, and got it done with ease. I mean, he was dancing along that baseline. Celtics couldn't stop him. Stevens was trying to put together combinations, but it just wasn't working. I mean, kudos to Baines for doing the best that he could. Right. We saw Tice get in there. You know, he gave some valuable minutes, but it was really hard for them to slow him down. And at the end of the day, you know, when Jaylen Brown fouled out, Kyrie Irving seemed like he was sort of in and out of finding his rhythm offensively, which that never really clicked towards the end of that fourth quarter. And then Marcus Smart seemed same thing for him. You know, first half he did make a couple of shots there, but for the most part, as a whole, I mean, the Celtics just didn't have enough offensive firepower to counter the Milwaukee Bucks in that fourth quarter.
After the game, it was Brad Stevens answering questions, and Jay King of MassLive.com asked Brad, do you think that it's just going to take a while for Kyrie to find his place out there on the court? And he said that's a question for Kyrie, but certainly, you know, there is going to be an adjustment. We're going to have to continue to look for answers. The numbers have not been pretty over the first two games here on Wednesday night. Kyrie Irving, 7 of 25 on the evening, and Marcus Smart, who filled in, obviously, in the starting lineup for Gordon Hayward, he was 4 of 13. You add that up, that's 11 of 38 from the field for your starting backcourt. That has got to improve if the Celtics are going to make strides in really accounting for the loss of Gordon Hayward.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a team that has obviously had to find its identity. Losing Gordon Hayward is a tremendous loss, but also we have to remember the fact that this isn't completely fall on Kyrie Irving. I mean, there's a lot of guys here that have to step up. You know, you have Jaylen Brown, who's been playing amazing basketball. I mean, it's a very small sample size, but what he's doing on the court is been something that we didn't necessarily anticipate this early on. I know we want to see strides out of him, but for game two, for him to be the leading scorer once again on this team, I think says a lot about him. He's reading the defense much better than we saw last year. He's picking his spots. He's knowing exactly when to drive, when to take that jump shot. We saw that in Cleveland. We saw that again tonight. But again, these changes are going to be, it's going to take some time for this team to really click. And I think a lot of that, especially if we're talking about the starting five, it starts with Kyrie Irving and Marcus Smart. I think these two have to find a way to coexist with each other on the court. We know that Marcus Smart is the defensive specialist, and that no matter what, he was going to be in the game most of the times at the end of the games to sort of make those stops. But I think now that he's in that starting role, that really shakes things up. I mean, for starters, you have the bench that has to find its identity without its leader. So that in itself is a lot for these young players to ask them.
Right.
But then now we're also trying to see how can Marcus Smart and Kyrie Irving put together enough continuity, figure things out on the offensive end to be most productive without, of course, one of their top players, Gordon Hayward. It's going to be tough.
Your best players have to stay on the court, however, Josue. And you just mentioned Jaylen Brown, again, the leading scorer for the second straight night here on Wednesday night. He had 18 points, 6 of 11 shooting, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. Those are all great signs. Fouling out of the game is not. And even more to the point, with 3 minutes to go in the second quarter, he picked up his third foul. That affected the flow of the game going into halftime when Milwaukee grabbed the lead. And then with just 3 or 4 minutes gone in the second half, he picked up foul number 4. Brad Stevens slams the padded area at the scorer's table, apologizes to the scorers later for doing that, but obviously frustrated with Jaylen Brown. And Brad, I asked Brad Stevens after the game, how much did that change the flow? And he said, well, it certainly impacted it because the bigs of Milwaukee were able to go after our bigs and take advantage of matchups.
Yeah, the matchups was a nightmare. I mean, we saw a lot of switches. Milwaukee, they're a very good team. This is a team that's in the middle of that pack,
which Stevens also alluded to.
Right. 3, 4, and 5. That this is a really good club with what Stevens said moments ago, an MVP candidate. I mean, this is Giannis Antetokounmpo. This guy is the real deal. This is one of those players that can impact the game for 48 minutes, and he demonstrated that tonight against the Celtics.
No question about that. And I want to wrap up by talking about Jason Tatum. There are going to be some great nights, Rookie of the Year caliber nights from Jason Tatum, and there are going to be other nights where he struggles, and there are going to be games where he shows us a little of both. I thought that was the kind of the case tonight where he showed us a little of both.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he got off to a good start, an early start. I love his athleticism, the way he's able to get past his defenders, but he's going to have to really find his rhythm, find his stride here. I mean, it's going to take a while. He is a rookie. We saw what happened with Jaylen Brown a year ago. Of course, they're two different players, of course. I mean, it's kind of hard.
There are going to be parallels.
But there are going to be parallels, in terms of how they find their identity on this team. I think he's going to be a crucial part. He's someone that's going to be in this starting lineup until we see what happens with Marcus Morris. Could be 2 weeks, could be 3. We're not necessarily sure exactly when he's going to return, but in the meantime, he's in a huge spot here in that starting 5.
Marcus Morris was on the court here on the parquet before tonight's game against the Milwaukee Bucks, warming up, trying to get his jumper tuned up a little bit, just taking baby steps because he's dealing with a knee issue. They want him obviously to be 100% given how shorthanded they are right now off the bench. They're going to need Marcus Morris as this team tries to collect itself, gather itself after an 0-2 start and losing Gordon Hayward for most of the season. Again, Gordon Hayward having surgery in Boston on Wednesday night. We'll have complete coverage on CLNS Media. The Celtics get outscored 32-20 in the fourth quarter. They drop for the second straight night to the Milwaukee Bucks by a final score of 108-100. This has been the Garden Report, brought to you by and powered by CLNS Media and Greats.com. Go to Greats.com for great-looking, stylish shoes, both formal and casual. Use my offer code and promo code TRAGS, T-R-A-G-S, for a 15% discount online. That's Greats.com. Final again, it was the Bucks 108 and the Celtics 100. He's Josue Pavon. I'm Mike Petraglia, and this is the Garden Report powered by CLNS Media.